What we call drought, to which we have started paying attention in the last few weeks, is not merely about rainfall shortage, and it's not merely about drinking water shortage and scarcity in some areas of the country. Just one thing about the magnitude, first of all. We've had 14% deficit rainfall last year, which is high. It is not extraordinary, but what makes it very unusual and very bad is that it came second consecutive year. The 2014 was a deficit year, 2015 is a deficit year, and this is the third time in the last century that we've had back-to-back drought. There is a water crisis which has been building up in the country. We have overexploited our groundwater resources. Our reservoirs and water management systems are in a disarray. Irrigation potentials are far from having been realized, and all that gets exposed in a year like this. And second, there is a long-term crisis of agriculture. We hear words like farmers' distress. We're not looking merely at distress. It is a crisis of agriculture, which comes from the fact, although you should be telling more than I do about this, but my simple common sense is, look, farming is becoming an unviable activity. Farmers don't earn. They don't earn enough to sustain themselves and their families in a good year. So when they don't earn enough in a good year, what would happen in a drought year? They simply go under the radar. And this farming crisis is about not getting good prices. Input costs have gone up, prices are not going up, loans, institutionalized loans are not available, and as and when there is a crop failure, there is simply no decent system of compensation or insurance. Drought is a multi-dimensional crisis that largely affects rural India, and the multi-dimensional crises include, yes, shortage of drinking water, yes, shortage of irrigation water, because of which poor crops, because of which loss of livelihood, lack of alternative employment avenues, shortage of food, shortage of credit availability, need for credit, but shortage of availability of credit, and shortage of fodder, which is actually affecting rural India in a very, very big way right now. But I think particularly media is a very critical mediator here. Politicians respond to things that media frames, and if media were not to cover a tragedy, that tragedy doesn't exist for politicians. So frankly, it's been a very disappointing 6 months in some ways. As I said, in the month of October, everyone knew there was drought. You didn't have to, you didn't need to be an expert to see that there was drought. And we kept talking about it, writing about it, shouting about it for 6 months. And until the water scarcity hit some urban areas, there was really no attention to it. So it was only when there was this section 144 in Latur that we woke up, oh, something is happening. Or when IPL, Indian God, when you challenge the Indian cricket God, that everyone sits up, oh my God, there's a drought. On sugarcane, the best, smartest thing is not to sermonize to the farmer, but actually offer him or her an attractive economic package. Give them better price for dal, they'll start growing dal. Stop rewarding so much. I mean, sugar industry has so many incentives built into that. Dismantle some of them and allow the industry to shift normally to areas where there is more water anyway. So this artificial structure of incentives and disincentives needs to be changed. No moralizing works with anyone, not with farmer either. Modernity may get you more of everything. It cannot get you more of water. That's the water you have to manage. You have to learn and manage. Let's not forget the biggest water guzzler is not your sugarcane. It is cities. Cities are the biggest water guzzlers. And we living in cities are some of the most irresponsible users of water. The water we flush in our toilet is potable water, is a water people in Latur would give their life for. When and how? It tells that, what should a collector do 8 months before the drought hits? It's actually prescribed there. What what should be the structure of decision making is prescribed there. What should be done about cattle is prescribed there. And when we produced that document in the Supreme Court, the government was surprised. They have their own document which they have not looked at, and it's not old. It's 2009.
Exactly. Yeah.
There are statutory guidelines based on that which were ignored. And the government pleaded in the Supreme Court that they don't know, they don't really know when to declare drought, who is to declare it. So they said, look, it's for states to decide. This is none of our business. Till we pointed out that there is actually something called Mahalanobis Center for Crop Forecasting, which actually uses remote sensing and ground information to assess drought conditions and gives a monthly categorization of drought. And this is run by Ministry of Agriculture, which was saying in the Supreme Court that they don't know how to look at droughts. Someone told me, I mean, I'm not again expert on these things, someone said about 1 lakh crore rupees is what you would need to complete all the unfinished irrigation projects. Does this country not have 1 lakh crore rupee for these things? I remember, again, forgive me for these comparisons, 2009, there was a global financial crisis. Meltdown.
Yeah.
Meltdown took place about 10,000 kilometers away from this country. And how much amount did the government give? 3 lakh crore rupees were given to Indian industry as a one-time bailout for something that actually didn't happen in this country. It has to be small irrigation projects, locally driven, locally imagined, conceptualized, and done with people's participation, with a lot of labor being put in by people through their normal means. That to me is the only way forward, because the experience of these big dams, not to speak of the river linking kind of big dreams, the experience of all this is that they don't produce what they promise, and the only reason why they get pushed so much is because there's so much corruption there. And we're finally doing a Padayatra from Marathwada to Bundelkhand from 21st of this month. We're connecting these two. So that's the final effort of this season.